Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to another market open stream. There is the market bell, the opening bell. Best bell in the industry. Today, of course, let's talk about what's going on in the world of crypto. Also, specifically, I want to showcase this one clip that I found from Bitcoin bull Michael Saylor and what he has to say about Ripple, Ethereum, and everything in general outside of Bitcoin. I think it's a controversial take, and I'm going to give you my 2 cents about it. And also, let's talk about what's going on in the world outside of Bitcoin and crypto. So, good morning, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You can see the market is, the U.S. market is opening. It wants to climb into the green. It was deep in the red. It does look like it's recovering. So when this, when this updates in a little bit, it's probably going to turn into green. As for Bitcoin and crypto, Bitcoin dipped down slightly this morning. It did, and now it looks like it wants to recover back up. Only 200 points down from last night, but we'll see what it does. But I want to start out with this, because I did see this. We know Michael Saylor, right? I think most of us know who Michael Saylor is. And he's always taken a pretty bullish tone on Bitcoin. Ever since he got in back in 2020, when he first bought in Bitcoin under 10,000, right? Came out of nowhere. Him and MicroStrategy said, yeah, we're putting our balance sheet or reserve into Bitcoin, right? Kind of became the next Bitcoin Jesus. But on the way up, you know, he said some controversial things that people called him out on, like, for example, sell everything, mortgage your house, and go buy Bitcoin. Obviously, when things came down, he took a lot of heat for that. But nevertheless, he's still a big Bitcoin bull, continues to believe, continues to DCA, even though his last DCA was some time ago. I don't actually remember when that was, but sometime in 2022, and it was the smallest buy that he has done. But recently though, he's been upping his I guess hate towards everything else besides Bitcoin, right? In the past, he stayed away from talking about other crypto like Ethereum or XRP for that matter. He would not talk about it because he's like, that's not what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about Bitcoin. That's all I care about, right? But recently, he's turned very negative, very, very negative against everything else outside of Bitcoin, right? Taking the Bitcoin MEXC stand and even going a little bit further than that. So let me play this clip. This one is in regards to XRP and Ripple, and then also in regards to Ethereum. But he really lays it out. He really just says everything. Well, let me play it before I comment on it. So let me play this for you guys. Let me get this ready here. Let me get that ready, this ready. Let me play this, and let's do this.
What are your thoughts about what's going on with Ripple and how he is handling the Ripple case?
Ripple's an unregistered security. It's pretty obvious. There's a company. The company owns a bunch of it. They sell it to the general public, but they never took the company public. There's no disclosures, right? So the SEC's position is you're selling an unregistered security. It's a crypto token, right? Just like Ethereum is an unregistered security. It's controlled by a few people in the Ethereum Foundation and Consensus.
Fair. Then
just
here's
like
a question.
FTT, just like Solana.
Perfect. But here's a follow-up on that,
They're
Michael.
all unregistered securities.
Here's a follow-up on that.
Right.
I don't own a single Ripple, just so we know. So full
Yeah.
disclaimer, I'm not a Ripple guy. But if both of them are unregistered, why target Ripple and not target Ethereum the way he is targeting Ripple? And by the way, this is coming from a guy that owns Ethereum, not Ripple.
Yeah, I think the best thing for the world would be if the SEC pretty much shut down all of it. It's all unethical, right? I mean, the Bitcoin position would be Bitcoin is an ethical commodity. All of these other altcoins are unregistered securities. They're all just equity tokens issued by a company in order to get around going public, and they're committing securities fraud.
Ethereum included.
Of course, especially Ethereum. You know, Ethereum's got $20 billion of ETH token locked up in the staking contract right now, and there's a couple of people that may or may not give it back to you ever. Now, isn't that the definition of investment contract? If a bank took $20 billion of your assets, froze the window and said you can't have your money back ever, maybe in the year 2024, we're not sure. We're just going to keep it. We may actually give you interest on it. We may take it all. We may slash it. That's the definition of a security, right? It's an investment of money in a common enterprise, relying upon the efforts of others and expectation of profit. The whole point is, if you want a crypto asset to be a commodity, you can't rely upon 4 engineers, a company, a CEO. If a person can make a decision, it's not a commodity.
All right. So there you go. That was about 2 minutes worth, right? Said a lot. So I definitely have to comment and give you guys my 2 cents on this. Well, first of all, what you said about Ripple and XRP, that is accurate. That is 100% accurate. However, not XRP, Ripple is trying to make this argument that, yeah, things have changed over time. Okay. There's a lot of lawyers that are actually looking at this, whether or not something could start out as a security, can be turned into a commodity after years of kind of, I don't know, like if rebranding is the right word, but the utility, the use case, if it changes, does it still stay a security or does it stay a commodity, right? That is something that's being worked out right now, and Ripple is trying to fight and talk about that. And this is why it's so important for Ripple to get the testimonial from the prior directors of the SEC, because they kind of made that assumption with Ethereum. Okay, that's why they deemed Ethereum a commodity, not a security. Officially, it's still recognized as a commodity. Okay, until they overturn that, it is still a commodity. So this is why Ripple wanted that information. What made them declare ETH non-security, and they're going to apply that same defense against XRP, right? But what he said there, pretty much true. Pretty much true for now. Now, as for Ethereum, I feel like Michael simply doesn't understand it enough, or basically, I think he's just attacking for the purpose of attacking, okay? That last point about staking. First of all, Ethereum didn't force anyone to go stake, okay? It's not like Ethereum said, Vitalik and crew said, okay, everything, all the miners, right? You guys need to stake all of your Ethereum into the beacon chain, and that's that, okay? It's not a dictatorship. They didn't force anyone to do it. It's a voluntary basis, okay? And so I mean, that, I think that was silly to imply that, yeah, it kind of somehow, like Ethereum just locked it all up, and they may not even give it back. They might not ever release it. They might not even give rewards, which is silly because they are giving rewards. They're not just going to take that away, and they will release it because this is part of the roadmap, right? So I get you could argue that maybe they don't. Maybe they just change their mind, right? They can just change their mind because it's all controlled by a few people. Well, that is true. That is true. So I guess we'll wait and see if all the bad stuff that Michael says Ethereum will do, or the team will do, let's see if that actually comes into play. But overall, it's still an open source project. Yes, there are developers. Yes, there's a leader like Vitalik, right? But unless all the stakers or previously all the miners vote upon changes, it doesn't get implemented, right? Just like Bitcoin. I think one thing important to recognize is Bitcoin also goes through upgrades. Taproot upgrade just happened. Segway update happened before, right? You still have teams, the Bitcoin core devs and other teams, that submits proposals, right, and code changes. But unless you get the consensus of all the miners, it's not going to be implemented. It's the same thing with Ethereum and the same thing with other crypto out there. So even though there may be strong leadership, doesn't mean doesn't mean that automatically they could just make all the decision and implement it and that's that. No, that's not how it works, right? So there are some things that Michael said there I just don't agree with. And he basically said everything is committing security fraud because they didn't register. That means they should all be shut down because they're all unethical. Okay, so the SEC should just shut them all down. Here's the other thing too. Let's just say the SEC does get the power to shut every single thing down. Do you think that's actually a good thing? Do you think Gary Gensler and SEC just go stop there and say, okay, we're going to shut everything down, but we're going to leave crypto as Bitcoin alone for now, right? What about the new innovations that's happening on top of Bitcoin? What about the layer 2s that's being built? What about DeFi that's coming to Bitcoin, right? What about tokenization that's coming to Bitcoin? These are innovations that started with Ethereum, and now they're being translated into dApps that could be used on top of Bitcoin too. So do you think Gary and SEC is really just going to stop there? So that's also the concern is you don't want to just let Gary and SEC have full control of everything. That's a slippery slope that's going to end up being much, much, much worse down the road, right? So there's also that. But some of these innovations I mentioned, like DEXs, for example, decentralized finance, where did they come from? They came from Ethereum. Innovation from Ethereum. The tokenization that makes it possible to have different tokens, to have liquidity pools, to have bridges and swaps and everything that people are trying to support and trying to move to because of centralized finance, right? They all exist on Ethereum and other chains right now, and very little of it exists on Bitcoin. And you could argue, had Ethereum never came out with smart contracts, Bitcoin would still be Bitcoin, which is fine, but you would have none of these other things that exist, right? Then there is no DeFi. There's no decentralized finance. And the way to opt out of centralized finance would become very, very limited, right? So there's that as well. But anyways, I did want to also share that even though, let's just say, argument's sake, both Ripple and XRP and Ethereum are declared securities, okay? Well, XRP and Ethereum, and that's the other thing. Ripple is a company. It's not a token. I think a lot of people think Ripple and XRP are the same, but they're not. They just hold a ton of XRP. But let's just say, for example, XRP and ETH are both declared securities, okay? Does that mean it's the death of both of them and they're just going to disappear? The answer is actually no. No. There's been cases, okay? For example, here's one back in 2019, EOS, which raised a $4 billion ICO. They had a 1-year-long ICO. $4 billion raised. They still have a ton of Bitcoin. But, the SEC went after them. And they admitted they had an unregistered ICO. And guess what? They had to pay $24 million. Slap in the wrist fine versus $4 billion that they raised. And is EOS still around? Yeah, they're still around. They didn't get shut down, right? So even if you are declared a security, or maybe you get declared that you had an unregistered ICO, does not mean it's the death of the project. Ripple has come out, or Brad Garlinghouse of Ripple has come out and said that they're preparing, even if they are deemed a security, they're going to still continue to operate, right? I don't know about what Vitalik thinks, but obviously it's not going to be a good look for either crypto if they become securities, but doesn't mean that they just get shut down and disappear. There's been plenty of cases where these lawsuits happen, they settle, and then they continue forward. Here's another one against a smaller company called Kik, who, they used to do this talking app, and they tried to come out with Kin, which is a blockchain and a token that's going to be layered into their kind of chatting app. I don't think they're relevant anymore, but also they got slapped with a $5 million fine, and then away they went. Okay, so it's not the end-all, be-all, but obviously it's going to change the perception for a lot of people. But still, there has been cases like this, and they have they have survived just fine. Now, one last thing that relates to this and how this also is affected by FTX. It seems like FTX case is affecting everything. Everything. The CFTC originally, just months ago, declared that Bitcoin and Ethereum are both commodities. They want to become crypto watchdog. Okay? Now, because, and I reported this, FTX, SBF, right, along with Goldman Sachs, that connection, they were talking with the CFTC, trying to give special treatment to FTX, right? And that, of course, blew up in their face, okay? So because of it, I think the new CFTC chief, obviously not a good look for him. It seems like this was a big miss on his part. So he recently did some kind of Princeton kind of, he just showed up to Princeton for a talk. And then he said Bitcoin is the only commodity. He just left out Ethereum. He didn't say that it was security. He didn't come out and say it, but he said Bitcoin is the only commodity. So he's kind of did a 180 after this whole FTX collapse thing because, again, he probably took a lot of heat afterwards, right? A lot of people pointing out, why didn't you figure this out? What made you allow this, right? But again, I think a lot of people are associating that FTX, the collapse of FTX and Luna, you could throw that in there as well, right? And all the other collapses is a reflection of the entire crypto community. And that's just not true. That's not true. Of course, there's bad actors. There's bad actors. But that doesn't mean that it's a reflection of everything, okay? You look at true securities, you look at the stock market, right? Of course, there's great companies. You have Tesla, you have Apple, you have Microsoft, right? You have these big tech jump companies. You have Coca-Cola, 3M, you have Boeing, you have a lot of great companies, right? But then you also have bad companies like Enron that went down. You have Bernie Madoffs that create Ponzi schemes. But that's not a reflection of everything else out there. You can't associate the bad actors and say, well, everyone must be bad then because we caught a few. No, that's just not how it works, right? But I do think a lot of people are making association now, like somehow these bad actors that went belly up in 2022 for crypto, somehow that's a reflection of everything. That's just not the case. That is not the case at all. All right, so just want to start out with that to give you guys my 2 cents. Obviously, we don't want Gary and the SEC to get more control because that's just going to lead to worse things. Okay, so this notion from Michael how, SEC should have shut down everything, well, that's a slippery slope because he's not just going to stop there. The reason why he wants to declare everything a security is because he wants more control. And if he takes control of everything, guess what he's going to come after next? Bitcoin and everything else related to Bitcoin, right? All right, so starting out with that, what else is going on in the world? Well, as for some macro stuff in the U.S., let's see what the market is now. It's still kind of red. Started out kind of even, still a little red. We'll see. We had 2 straight days of really bad red, so we'll see if today continues. But as for the U.S. economy, it's looking like it's slowing down quite dramatically. There's estimates that, spending this holiday season is going to be down. Of course, it's going to be down because people are fearful of what's coming in 2023 and possibly deeper recession. You have demand for houses still going down, right? Obviously. I mean, that's no surprise, right? But you still have a lot of people coming out and saying, well, there could be a global collapse, or at least a collapse in the U.S. I mean, you still have supply chain issues that's going on, right? Political instability that's going on, and of course, rising inflation. And these things are still not solved. They are getting better, but not solved completely. So next week, of course, we're going to hear about these things with Fed Chair Powell and see what he thinks. We're going to have another PCI reading, too, of inflation next week. So we will see whether or not inflation is really tapering out, whether or not supply chain is improving, because it seems like it is, and political instability that we can't control right now. That we cannot control. And then as for other crypto news, this one isn't that good. CBDCs, a lot of people are concerned about CBDCs, right? In Nigeria, they already implemented it. I didn't know this. They have their own Naira. But regardless, they are starting to fine people or implement a tax for people that's using cash too much, right? So if you're going over $225 a week, you're withdrawing cash, they tax you 5%. If you go over like $1,125, then they give you a 10% tax, right? So they're already forcing people to use CBDCs. And why do you think they're doing that? Well, because CBDCs, they're controlled by the central banks, right? And they give a lot more information about what the people are doing with their money, right? It's hard to track what people are doing with their cash, but it's very easy to track what people are doing on the blockchain. So CBDCs, a lot of people confuse CBDCs with stable coins. This is one of the things that may be coming, right? A lot of countries are implementing CBDCs, and you may be thinking, there's no difference. I'm still paying everything online. It's all digital. No one knows what the hell's going on. But no, there are fundamental things that governments can be looking at, right? Because they know what your wallet address is. They know how to track transactions, and they have complete overview of where all the money is going and what you're spending it on. So it's a little concerning when you think about that. But that's different from stable coins, which are not controlled by the government, and definitely different than a lot of these other projects that exist that's not controlled by any NAT or governments or central banks, stuff like that, right? So there's that. Japan is recommending against algorithmic stable coins. This is also no surprise after Luna's collapse, UST collapse. There are a lot of regulators that do not want algorithmic stablecoins. First of all, they probably don't want stablecoins because they want to push their own CBDC. So there's that. But also, they don't want algorithmic ones because they just don't trust them, right? So I kind of warn you guys this. So there are still projects that have algorithmic stablecoins, including Cardano. Cody is coming out of the algorithmic stablecoin, and I'm like, that's just a bad idea. They should have swapped that, right? So Cardano's Emergo is coming out with their own stablecoin that is not algorithmic stablecoin. It's fiat backed, right? But there are ones that still exist, like Tron still has their USDD, and then the Cody one, DJED, and then there's a few other one. Near had one, but they just voluntarily shut that down, and I think that's a good idea. But the ones that are algorithmics backed, at this point, you just have to wonder whether or not it's going to work. And second of all, you have to wonder if they're just going to be shut down by the regulators in the near future. So just to throw that out there. That's pretty much it. Let's see. Bitcoin is still kind of holding here, 16.8, a little bit down from yesterday. Overall, crypto market cap about the same, down about 1% from yesterday. So, all right, let's do some Q&A. Ooh, 1,200 people watching on Rumble right now. Welcome, everyone. All right. And, of course, everyone on YouTube. Not to single you guys out, but trying to dual stream these days, right? Let's see here. Yeah, looking through the comments, people were like, I agree that BTC is unique. I've said that. I've said that. I've always said that there's no need for Bitcoin maxis to be threatened by everything else. Bitcoin is different animals, a store of value, right? So nothing like Ethereum or XRP or Doge or anything else out there competes with Bitcoin. But I just feel like a lot of Bitcoin maxis feel the need to attack everything else to try to make Bitcoin look better. There's no need for that. Actually, that looks more desperate than anything. Bitcoin is by itself. Okay, there's no doubt about it. Joe says, I have received multiple NFTs in my Ledger wallet. It's just probably because people send it to you. I get people that send me NFTs on my OpenSea wallet address too, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you really don't like them, you could just send them. You could burn them or something. You find a burn address and send it off. Gary Gensler will rule them all. I hope not. I hope not. Gary Gensler, let's not forget, is also connected with Caroline Ellison and FTX. There's a connection there. Okay, so this FTX thing seems to be like everywhere, connected everywhere. Beef Janko. That's funny and it's not. All right. Jam Pod, do you think Michael Saylor damages crypto as a whole by taking the stance he does, or do you think it doesn't matter? No, I don't think it matters. Before Saylor, and I'm not saying Saylor is completely wrong, or is he evil, or am I trying to attack him, but I do think that he's still relatively new, right, in the space, came in, really just concentrating on Bitcoin, and that's fine. I've always said there's nothing wrong if you wanted to be just a Bitcoin holder. You don't have to hold anything else. Just holding Bitcoin will help you attain financial freedom and life-changing wealth, right? And I think that's how Saylor started. But now I just feel like because of the pressures he's facing, the pressures of being down 50% on his, $5+ billion of the Bitcoin, he feels the need to attack. Before, it was all about education, right? You listen to these interviews that he has done in the past, and I've always joked about how if you've listened to one, you listen to all, because he would give all the great things about Bitcoin, right? How it is decentralized, not controlled, non-sovereign. You can send to anywhere, right? Around the world. All the great things about Bitcoin, set and supply. The inflation rate gets cut, right? It's better form of gold, pharmaceutical grade gold, all this stuff, right? But I think because of now, people are paying less attention to it, so he has kind of changed his tone to attacking Ethereum and everything else to make Bitcoin look better now. So again, it's very noticeable. It's very noticeable between what he says now versus before in the interviews. And I just don't see a need for that. There's just no need. If anything, it makes his stance of being Bitcoin bull look weaker, the fact that he has to attack everything else, in my opinion. But as a whole, does it hurt crypto as a whole? No. Nothing's going to stop crypto as a whole. It's only going to grow. There's going to be new innovations. Crypto itself is just like the internet. When the internet first came out, no one knew how it was going to evolve, where it was going to go. People were making fun of it. People were trying to shut it down. The SEC and CFTC, they were looking at early stage companies, tech companies, very closely. A lot of them shut down. A lot of them raised a whole bunch of money through IPOs, and they didn't have anything going for them, and it just shut down. I still remember, you know, I was a young lad when a tech bubble burst. I remember it set me back like a decade because I was in IT. I studied IT. I couldn't get a job for a decade, right? It set things back by 10 years probably, right? But look at where we are now. So it's kind of the same thing. A lot of innovation already happened, but there's more that's coming. And we can't even imagine how the future is. So that's why you don't just want to give up on everything. Let's see here. Will the average person ever come together to uprise against the BS the elites are pushing? You don't need to like revolt or anything. You simply just need to opt out. And how do you opt out? You buy Bitcoin, you buy crypto, and you start using it more. That's really it. It's not like the citizens need to come out and like, you know, it's not like you like stand in front of the Federal Reserve and demand that Powell comes out and everyone gives them a lashing or something, or I don't even know what I'm saying. It's not like that needs to happen, right? It's not like citizens with pitchforks show up in front of the Federal Reserve. We just need to opt out. We just need to hold less money, hold more Bitcoin, hold more crypto overall, and utilize the crypto dApps that are out there. And as more people do that around the world, that's how we go against the elites. NMCT, no, that was attack. He basically had the interviewer didn't stop him. He was going to name out every crypto, and he already said it too. He said it because it's unethical. They should all be shut down by the SEC. I would say that's attack. Richard Scott, welcome. Old Saucy says, Flare. Flare's been pending for a long time. Flare was just concentrating on XRP before, but now they're really just concentrating on everything. The little that I know about them seems like they're going to be a brand new L1, right? I think I may be wrong. I thought it was operating on the XRP ledger, but I think they've transitioned to their own ledger. But it's going to be a new L1 that's focused on dApps and payments and everything else. Robinhood does allow to move BTC off the exchange. I finally got one whole coin off using Ledger or onto Ledger. I sent a small amount. It feels better. Tommy, congratulations. Congratulations. It's always scary. It's always scary to send Bitcoin off from an exchange because you just don't know if it's going to get there right? Like, especially if you're sending large amounts. I don't even know how people like Binance, like when they need to send like $1 billion worth of Bitcoin to a new address, I don't even know how they have the courage to do that in like one transaction, right? For me, I would be spreading that out into like 1,000 transactions. But yeah, if you're playing around with a new wallet that you control, always send a small amount first, see if it gets there. Once you verify it got there, then you send the remaining amount. You don't want to send the entire amount right off the bat. Some people do screw up the address, especially with chains that have basically the same address. Like for example, if you're sending ERC20 ETH to Polygon, right, for example, or BSC, Binance Smart Chain, it'll send, but it won't populate, right? So you want to make sure you test it out first. Lazaro, your thoughts on Powell on Wednesday? That's next Wednesday, right? That's not this Wednesday, but I don't know. The economic data, at least inflation, shows, in my opinion, that inflation in the U.S. is still rising, but slowing down, right? Finding that top. And we get a lot of economic data, and they're all showing slowdowns already, okay? Everything is slowing down. So Powell also, in his last conference that he had not too long ago, said that they're ready to start slowing down the rate hikes. Not cut it off, but just slow it down. So I do think this next rate hike will be a 50 basis point hike. And the next one we have after that, I believe in January, could be a 50 basis point hike. But I think the 75 basis point hikes are no longer going to be in play. And overall, that's a good thing. That's going to be a good thing. The new Ledger Stacks wallet does look awesome. It does look awesome. I showed it off yesterday. It does look really neat. Three Dog Parodies. Satire said he's right. I've been sleep deprived and sent tokens to a wrong address. Yeah, unfortunately. You got to pay attention. Yeah, you know, that's the thing. That's the thing about self-custody wallets. Because you are your own bank, right? So there's no customer support or anything like that. There's no tech support that's going to help you. So you do have to make sure that you're sending to the right address, first of all. A lot of wallets will tell you. If you're like trying to send the Ethereum to like Bitcoin's network, it's not going to let you, right? But there are a lot of EVM compatible chains that have the same address. That's where I think people, they make mistakes with that. But you have to send to the right address. And also you gotta be careful with that recovery phrase. That's the most important part. It doesn't matter what happens to the wallet. You could just leave it out in the street, okay? Someone could steal it. It could be run over by a car. It doesn't matter. That recovery phrase is the most important. So those are two things to watch out for. Jerome Powell's in the chat. All right, guys. Overall, stay strong. Stay strong, my friends. Bad actors, like I said, is not a reflection on the entire space. And as for what Michael says, let's just say I think I disagree. I think a lot of the things that he's saying, I disagree with. I think he is attacking a lot more than educating. So it is what it is. All right. But stay strong, my friends. And I'll see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.